For centuries, the Great Pyramids of Egypt have been considered one of humanity's greatest achievements. Massive stone blocks, perfect alignments, ancient engineering that still amazes the modern world. But what if the pyramids weren't the beginning? What if there are structures thousands of years older, structures so ancient that they force historians to rethink the story of civilization itself? And what if those structures were built at a time when humans were supposedly still simple hunter-gatherers? Because that is exactly where this mystery begins. For a long time, historians believed civilization followed a simple path. First came farming, then villages, then cities, and finally, monumental architecture. The logic seemed obvious. Large structures require large societies. Large societies require agriculture. At least, that's what everyone thought. Then, in southeastern Turkey, archaeologists made a discovery that changed everything. At first, it looked like nothing more than an ordinary hill, a quiet rise in the landscape. Beneath the surface was something nobody expected. As excavations continued, enormous stone pillars began to emerge from the ground. Some stood over 16 feet tall, others weighed several tons, and the deeper archaeologists dug, the stranger the sight became. This place would eventually become known as Göbekli Tepe. When scientists analyzed the site, they made a shocking discovery. The structures were approximately 11,600 years old. To put that into perspective, the Great Pyramid of Giza is around 4,500 years old. Göbekli Tepe was already ancient when the pyramids were built, and that's where the mystery truly begins, because according to conventional history, people living 11,600 years ago were hunter-gatherers. They had no cities, no writing, no metal tools, no known advanced technology. So, how did they create one of the most impressive architectural sites ever discovered? The pillars at Göbekli Tepe weren't rough stones randomly placed in the ground. They were carefully carved. Many were shaped into giant T-shaped monoliths. Even more remarkable were the detailed carvings found on their surfaces: foxes, snakes, scorpions, birds, wild animals, and mysterious symbols whose meanings remain unknown. Who carved them? Why were they created? And what message were they trying to leave behind? As researchers searched for answers, they encountered another problem. Building a site like this would have required organization. Lots of organization. Hundreds of people may have been involved, perhaps even thousands over generations. Food had to be gathered, stone had to be transported, labor had to be coordinated. But how could hunter-gatherers achieve something on this scale? The discovery challenged one of history's most fundamental assumptions. Maybe civilization didn't begin with agriculture. Maybe large ceremonial centers came first. Maybe people gathered around sacred sites, and agriculture developed later to support them. If true, that would completely reverse the traditional timeline taught in schools around the world. But Göbekli Tepe wasn't the end of the story. In recent years, archaeologists uncovered another site not far away, Karahan Tepe, and some researchers believe it could be just as important, possibly even larger. The site contains massive stone structures, human figures, carved heads, and underground chambers. Much of it remains buried beneath the earth. Only a small portion has been excavated, which raises a disturbing question. How many more ancient sites are still hidden beneath the landscape? What if Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe are only fragments of a much larger prehistoric network? What if we've only uncovered the surface of a forgotten world? Then came one of the strangest discoveries of all. Göbekli Tepe appears to have been deliberately buried, not destroyed, not abandoned, buried. Thousands of tons of soil and debris were used to cover the structures. Someone went through enormous effort to hide the site. But why? Why would people spend generations building something extraordinary only to intentionally bury it? Even today, no one knows the answer. Several theories have emerged. The first is the ceremonial theory. According to this idea, Göbekli Tepe was one of humanity's earliest religious centers, a place where people gathered for rituals and ceremonies. The second theory suggests it served as a social hub, a location where scattered groups met. exchanged ideas, formed alliances, and strengthened communities. Then, there is the most controversial theory. Some researchers believe these sites may represent traces of a lost chapter of human history, not necessarily a forgotten advanced civilization, but a culture far more sophisticated than we currently understand. A culture whose story has largely vanished from the archaeological record. Each theory explains part of the mystery, but none explain everything, and that's what makes these ancient structures so fascinating. Just when historians think they understand the past, new discovery changes the picture. For years, many believed the mystery had been solved. Göbekli Tepe had been excavated. Its age had been determined. The story seemed complete. Then, Karahan Tepe was discovered, and then more sites. Each new excavation raised new questions. Instead of solving the mystery grew larger. Today, archaeologists continue to investigate these ancient structures. Large areas remain unexplored. New discoveries are made every year, and beneath the soil of Anatolia, there may still be secrets waiting to be uncovered. Secrets capable of changing what we know about the origins of civilization. The pyramids may be among the world's greatest wonders, but perhaps the real beginning of the story lies elsewhere. Hidden beneath the hills of ancient Anatolia, waiting in silence for thousands of years, and perhaps the most important question still remains unanswered. Who built these structures? And why were they hidden from the world? Because until that question is answered, the mystery of the structures older than the pyramids remains unsolved.